I'm working in the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control in Stockholm, in Sweden. First, a few words about what we do and who we are. ECDC's mission is to identify, assess, and communicate current and emerging threats to human health posed by infectious diseases. So it's quite a challenging mission, but it saves a lot of lives, so it's very rewarding to work in this environment. Our history is quite short because the agency was created in 2005, and over the first 5-6 years, it has been, let's say, a little bit a startup mode. We were asked already to produce some work, but we were really growing and building our systems, and a lot of things have been built ad hoc in silos, and it's the result in a way is that all the things have been built not looking at the landscape, not looking at what exists around. And that also is true for the information and for the data that we have been working on. And if I show you a crazy picture like that, surveillance of communicable disease is one of our activity. And this shows you a very high-level model of the surveillance activities at ECDC. What we do is basically collecting information. We are getting information uploaded on our systems by the member states, by the Public Health Institute in the member states, for example. We are also, by ourselves, getting information where it exists in Eurostat, for example. We are taking population data. We are taking climate data, temperature, precipitation. We are getting all this information that we need to perform our mission, our duties. We are also collecting information about mosquitoes, for example, because they transmit some diseases, or ticks, etc. What we are doing also, we are searching for information that is not yet available through a web service or a database or a portal. We are looking for information in the media. We are looking for information in the social media. We are looking at Twitters. We are looking at everything that is available to try to find emerging information, emerging signals, things that will help us identify as soon as possible potential threats. And with all of that, of course, we need to do something with the information. We are doing some quality checks, we are doing some validation, we are deduplicating, we are anonymizing, we are a lot of processing about this data and information, and we store that in our databases, in our systems. To do what? To analyze. We need to analyze that. We need to add value on top of that. And we are doing basic analysis, like descriptive analysis. You want to know how many cases of tuberculosis in this country, you will find it. It's very basic. But we also do advanced analysis. We do advanced statistical analysis. We do forecasting. We do molecular typing investigation. We do whole genome sequencing, comparison and coding. It's a lot about, these analyses are growing over time, and it's quite a lot of analysis knowledge that we need to put in here. And ultimately, we publish, we communicate. That's part of our mandate, as I said. We need to communicate. And we make that publicly available on our website. We publish daily reports, weekly reports, situation, ad hoc, routine, quite a lot. But how to address that in a small agency that was built 12 years ago, that covers more than 50 diseases, that helps and supports and work on more than 30 to 50 countries? It's quite challenging, and where to start? That was our question. And recently, by just looking at the last Gartner report for business intelligence and analytic platforms, I found this sentence. It's written in the Gartner report. By 2020, organizations that offers users access to curated catalog of internal and external data will realize twice the business value from analytic investment than those that do not. I was very happy to find that. Honestly, that was for me a way to communicate with my managers. But the statement is a little bit blurred. What means analytics investment? Is it just investment? Is it also running costs, etc.? Okay, whatever the details, I found myself in this sentence. I agree with that because that represents quite well our experience at ECDC. We have been building things in silos. We have been building things without any governance related to information and data, and we have been suffering from it for 12 years. And what we need is one place to search and find our information, what we have and what we can access. It's a single source of information, and we need it now. We can't wait more. We have been suffering from that. That's very important. And how to make it now? Let's make it simple. We have started with just an Excel spreadsheet. Very simple, very efficient. It takes a few minutes to create it and to start working on that. Of course, it took a little bit more than a few minutes to make it happen, but it's very simple. It's open to everyone. I heard open sharing by default. I fully agree with that. We need to share it by default. We need to make that open and supported by a core team of dedicated people, because right now, and it's also based on our current roles, because right now, information management, data management, and governance related to that isn't really existing in our internal organization. So we need to make it with the tools we have. And if we start to try to change our internal organizations before starting anything, it will take forever and go nowhere. We started also with a focus on our main pain points. What have been the biggest issues over the last months or years? And where is the latest version of the data? How can I find it? Who is accountable? Where can I find someone who is in charge of this data quality issue and who will finally act on it? These are the critical questions that we managed to solve by creating our information catalog. And of course, reusability of all the data we have. Our whole business is based on collecting, analyzing, and retrieving data. And our approach has been quite simple. So we have created this Excel spreadsheet, metadata-based approach to catalog where you have some coding in it, which is providing an overview of each information resource that we have available at ECDC or that we can access and we know where to find. It addresses the most known issues, and that's also where we started. We work like that in a very flexible way. I had a few weeks ago a question from one of my colleagues who is working on the training material at ECDC. We train a lot of our colleagues in the member states. Where can I store my information about training? We have 10 years old training material, 5 years old training material, and 2 months old training material. Where can we get this catalog? Put it in the catalog. It exists now. Let's use the same catalog. And Agile, yes, we try to, because it's very simple, done quite quickly, we also accept the changes in the catalog when it makes sense. It's not blocked in its structure. This is just to give you an overview of how it looks like. You see, it's not really fancy. It's not really nice looking. It's just an Excel spreadsheet. It contains something like, 30 columns. So it's not huge, it's not big, but it proves to be very useful. And what we can see, I'm not sure, no, you can't really see, it's a little bit blurred on the picture. I will go through the variables quickly just to explain you what it contains. It contains the name and the description about the information asset. It contains who is in charge of that, the idea of having an information steward, a data manager related. Who is the person that I can call, that I can get in touch with if I have a problem, if I have a data quality issue. It also contains information stating if it's master data or if it's a secondary data coming from several sources, or if it's maybe also an output, basically an output. And it's in the next columns, we have then more information about where to find it, the URL, if it's accessible from a website, the name of the server, or the document management system link if it's a document. We have also information about the format. Is it an Excel, a Word, a PDF, a database, a CSV file, etc. And we have also linked to the different processes that are related to this information asset and to the different systems, the tools, the IT systems that also use or produce this information asset. And we have we tried to, on the last one, we tried also to, from the beginning, include information about sensitivity on the data and confidentiality on the data. That's quite important in the questions. Can I share this data? Can I use this data? What can I do with this data? Is it sensitive? Does it contain a copyright? Etc. That is very, very important. The last part, which is still not completely visible, the last 4 or 5 columns are just about the process of the catalog itself. So who has created this this line in the catalog, when it was last updated and by whom, so very basic. And this Excel sheet managed to make us change our life quite quickly because it was created 6 months ago, and I started receiving questions and requests by my colleagues while we had very little time to communicate and to work on it. Now, if I don't look at the structure of the catalog, but if I look at the content of the catalog, what do we have in it? We have reference data, our corporate organizational reference data. So where to find reference to our organization, where to find information about our stakeholders in the member states. We are dealing with thousands of stakeholders, nominated people from the member states. Where to find training material that I can share or that I can use. Public health reference data, disease infections, the name, is it called salmonella or salmonellosis? If you look for salmonella and salmonellosis on ECDC website, you will probably find a 50-50. Probably 50 is wrong, 50 is right. But we should start using the same terminology. And you find the link to the official terminology in this catalog. Geographic information data, the one who work in the geographic area knows much more than me how important it is to have a geographic reference data available. Genomic sequences as an example also, that is coming now, very important for us. And then more on the business data, public health data. We have raw data that we get, we have clean data that after we have processed it, we have aggregated data, calculated results. We have also events and threats, public health events and public health threats, that we have databases, we have Ebola databases, we have Zika databases, we have all of that. This exists. This exists as Excel file, this exists as databases, this exists as dashboards, and there was no place before to say, this exists, you can find it here, and you can find the person in charge here. Also, as I said, also determinant data, the disease itself is important, but how it is vehicled, the vectors, the mosquitoes, the ticks, etc. Also the air traffic is very important because when you get something in this country and you travel in that country, you bring it with you. The bug is traveling with you. And also environmental data, a lot of that is related to temperature, precipitation, and this changes quite a lot also, and it's quite important in the forecasting. In a few words now, what have been and what are our challenges? The first one, on the roles and responsibilities. We don't have, I heard Gertrude saying, every organization should have a DPO, data protection, a chief data officer. Now I'm mixing two subjects that I like. I can talk about the other one later if you want. A chief data officer we don't have. Then we still need to work, we still need to do something, and we managed to do this catalog and start an information governance without a chief data officer. So let's not consider this as a blocking step, but still it's a challenge, and we will need to address it later. Dedicated resources. I have to say that it's been very difficult to get resources provided, agreed with our management. But now we also see that our higher management we start to get a buy-in from them, and they see the added value. Even with such a little work, they already see the added value. A technical one, the granularity of what we put in the catalog. How to define what is a line and why is it one line? Why is it not 3 lines or 100 lines? In this catalog, we don't have the raw data. We would have millions of lines. Our solution was to think about the best way to define one line in the catalog was the combination of the topic, so maybe the disease, for example, if it can help, and the information stewards. And I will take just an example for that. If we talk about influenza, in fact, we don't have one line for influenza surveillance data in our catalog, but we have several lines because you have the clinical data for influenza and you have the virological data for influenza. And these are 2 different experts, 2 different information stewards who are in charge of these 2 different data assets. So we decide to split it in 2 because from our perspective, it's logical. But of course, in your world, you would need to adapt and decide what is the level of granularity of such information. And finally, the big challenge, and that is a very big challenge in my opinion, but we heard that from the previous discussions also, raising awareness, communication, training. It's all about raising awareness, communication, and training. It's all about that. And the next steps for us will be, we have started also at ECDC an enterprise architecture program. let's say information governance is part of the enterprise architecture, and this information asset catalog is the first building block of the information governance, which is part of this enterprise architecture. So we are going that way, and it will help a lot to already have some experience and some knowledge about that. Include that into the projects and into our processes, build up on the master data management, but then in the next area, communication, communicate, make it visible. Make it visible, train, raise awareness. And this is something that I have to say, unfortunately, we are very bad at ECDC because we are not communicating people. We don't tweet a lot, that's not our strength. So we need to become better on that. On the IT side, we have also a big project of enterprise search engine, and very soon this enterprise search engine will also consume the content of the catalog, and so it will be really a big added value. When you search something, you will find also what is in this catalog. It's coming very soon. And all the IT projects involved should first look at the catalog to see, to reuse what already exists and potentially to put data in the catalog. And the last, which is probably the most important one, the staff, the people around this. Make it useful, make them happy. If they are happy, if it is useful, you get the buy-in, it works. It doesn't have to be complex, it doesn't have to be expensive. Just make it work. And that's in fact quite easy and quite simple. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Gaetan. I believe that we have some time for questions.
Hi. Does this work? It would be interesting to find out if you monitor the access to the catalog and eventually how one would make sure that the information in the catalog is accurate.
Yeah, that's a good question. What we have done what we have started to do is to have a status in each record of the catalog and to consider it or as a first draft or approved by the information steward, by the data steward. And I think it's a very important step that if that's not only the information steward who are feeding the catalog, that it is reviewed and approved by the information steward. We have part of the catalog that has been filled in by data manager, more technical person. So the role of the information steward of checking, verifying, and somehow approving it in a light way is quite important.
There is one more question, Vasilios.
I would suggest for the ECDC to look closer to the DCAT AP and to the ADNS specifications, because perhaps linking also the descriptions of your catalog with these specs would make also your catalog more visible, both to the European Open Data Portal perhaps, but also to the join-up catalog of solutions.
Yeah, I fully agree. That's something we need to look at in the coming months, because I was also discussing with Norbert, and I think we have a lot to gain in making that visible and shared. It's an important point. I agree.
Do we have more questions from the audience? Maybe I will also take the opportunity to ask a question. So one of the points that you stressed at the end of your presentation was actually the benefits that information governance delivers to the people or the staff. And very often, I'll be the devil's advocate, we hear that information governance is more like a cost, and people think twice and three times before they invest in it. So how do you measure those benefits? You said keep everybody happy. How do you know if they are happy with it?
Checking the cost or the added value is something quite difficult, but the happiness, you will feel it. If you are working on that, you will see if it's going on the good direction. I think it's difficult to measure that, but the management will feel it also. If they have a sense of management and they talk with the staff, etc., they will feel it. That's obvious. One example that I have had a few years ago, one of our main database, one of our biggest database contains surveillance data. That was one of my examples. I was asked by one of my colleagues he was planning to ask all the member states some surveillance data. He was planning to collect this data again. This is the biggest area at ECDC, and he was planning to do it again. And it's not because he's stupid, obviously. It's simply because for some reason he was so far from this area that he just didn't know that what he was looking for was already sitting at ECDC, available for him and just ready to be used. And I mean, that day I've been very happy because I saved not only time and resource, etc., but I saved a big embarrassment for ECDC if that guy would have sent an email to all the European countries asking for something that we already had in-house.
Thank you very much.